guys, this is Venom coming at you with another build video today. Today we're going to be talking about a 1-bar heavy attack Magicka Necromancer. Start first with the gear sets: Lightning Staff of the Sergeant, Sharpened Trade, Weapon and Spell Damage Glyph, 2-piece Max Health, 3-piece Health Recovery, 4-piece Weapon and Spell Damage. 5-piece, when you deal damage with a heavy attack, you gain a stack of Sergeant's Focus for 5 seconds. Increase the damage your heavy attacks by 645 per stack. This effect can occur once every second and stacks up to 4 times. The body pieces are all divines with max magic enchantment. Head is a light slime crawl. This adds 771 critical chance. Chest, Sergeant's heavy. The shoulder, waist, hands, legs, and feet, infallible Aether. I like to run Infal for most content, especially in 4-man content and solo content. I find it as the better set. Storm Masters is a better set if you're parsing on a 21 mil target dummy or in a very optimized trials team. Infal gives crit chance, minor slayer at all times, increasing damage done to dungeon, trial, and arena monsters 5%. Weapon and spell damage, critical chance, and your heavy attacks deal an additional 900 damage. Enemies you damage with fully charged heavy attacks are afflicted with minor vulnerability for 10 seconds, increasing your damage taken by 5%. The Storm Master set, this gives crit chance, weapon and spell damage, and more damage to light and heavy attacks deal additional 1542 damage per 20 seconds. This can occur every 10 seconds. Again, this is a better set on the 21 mil target dummy or at a very optimized trials team. So just swap these two out if you're in one of those. But if you're in 4-man content, I would highly recommend Infal. This is going to give you more penetration, which you're going to probably be missing, and more critical chance. The jewelry, Sergeant's, Bloodthirsty, weapon and spell damage for your necklace and ring. The other ring is Oaken Soul. Alright, we'll jump into the skills. This is what I like to run in most general content, if I'm solo or if I'm in a 4-man team. Spirit Guardian, conjure a ghostless spirit to do your bidding and stay by your side for 16 seconds. The spirit heals you or the lowest health ally around you every 2 seconds, restoring health. While active, 10% of the damage you take is transferred to the spirit instead. Unstable Wall of Storms. This is from the Destruction Staff skill line, and so is Crushing Shock. Slam down your staff to create an unstable storm barrier in front of you, dealing shock damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second, setting concussed enemies off balance for 7 seconds. When the effect ends, the barrier explodes, dealing shock damage. This has an 18 by 8 meter area. You can use this as an AoE spammable. If you're fighting multiple targets, when you just reapply the skill, it causes the explosion to go off again. For the single target spammable, I like to run Crushing Shock on this guy. Yes, he has a bunch of other skills available, but they just feel wonky trying to get them to work on the Necro. If you've ever run a Necromancer, you probably know what I'm talking about. So Crushing Shock, this has got a 28 meter range. It's going to deal Flame Frost and shock damage. Enemies hit while casting are interrupted, set off balance, and stun for 3 seconds. The other skill I like to run on this guy is Elemental Susceptibility, 35 meter range, 30 second duration. You sap the elements. Enemies' defenses afflict them with Major Breach for 30 seconds, reducing their physical and spell resistance by 5,948. Every 7.5 seconds, the enemy is afflicted with Burning, Chilled, and Concussion status effects. You should replace this skill if somebody else in your group is already running Major Breach. And he's got some other stuff that you can, they're good skills. We'll get into that in just a minute. For your emergency heal or team heal, Blood Sacrifice. It's a 28 by 12 meter area. Sacrifice your own power to repair damaged flesh, healing you or an ally in front of you, but applying Minor Defile to yourself for 4 seconds, reducing your health received and health recovery 8%. For the ultimate, Thunderous Rage from the Destruction Staff skill line. This is going to last 9 seconds because we're using a lightning staff. This deals shock damage every 1 second. Other skills that you can run, your ultimate, Pestilent Colossus. If you're running with a tank and they're running Turning Tide, they're already going to get the major vulnerability in the group. So you may not need the Colossus to put that in the group. That's why I run Thunderous Rage. But if nobody is running that, you can slot this right here, and it's also a very good ultimate to run. Unleash a pestilent flesh colossus to pulverize enemies in the area. The colossus smashes the ground 3 times. It deals disease damage for the first, second, and third smash. Dealing damage applies major vulnerability, increasing the damage the enemies take by 10% for 12 seconds. I don't much care for the Flame Skull. I just, again, it's an okay skill, but I mean, I would rather have Crushing Shock over it. Stalking Blast Bones can be an amazing skill. And again, as I was just saying, if you've ever run a Necromancer, you probably know what I'm talking about with this. You love it, but you hate it. You summon a flaming skeleton from the ground after 2.5 seconds. The skeleton runs after the target and explodes when it gets close to them, dealing flame damage to all enemies nearby. Every second the skeleton spins chasing its target, increase the damage of the explosion 10% up to a maximum of 50% more damage. It's a great skill, but it just feels wonky trying to get it to work. Unnerving Boneyard. This is another way that you can apply Major Breach. Desecrate the ground at the target location, dealing frost damage over 10 seconds. And it applies Major Breach to enemies within, reducing their physical and spell resistance by 5,948. Consumes a corpse on cast to deal 30% more damage. An ally standing in the graveyard can activate the Grave Robber Synergy, dealing frost damage to enemies in the area and healing for the damage done. You can replace the elemental susceptibility for the unnerving Boneyard if you're wanting to hit multiple targets at once and apply the Major Breach. Keep in mind this only lasts 10 seconds, whereas this will last 30 seconds on the target, and it's got a longer range. And this is going to give you the Burning Shield and Concussion status effect as well. So that's why I run the susceptibility over the Boneyard for the most part. But again, also, if somebody in your group already has Major Breach, you want to swap that out for one of these other skills. Me, I would probably put on the Skeletal Arcanist for my other skill. This, to me, kind of reminds me of the Scamp from the Sork, except he does a ranged attack. It lasts 20 seconds, it goes off every 2 seconds, and the damage is basically the same. And it's an AoE attack, so very, very similar. Detonating Siphon is another really good skill. This is the stamina version. So this will violently drain the last spark of the life of the corpse, dealing disease damage over 20 seconds to all enemies around the corpse between you and the corpse. When the siphon ends, it causes the corpse to explode, dealing additional disease damage to all enemies around the corpse. While slotted, your damage done is increased by 3%. This is also, like I said, it's a very good skill as well. It's just trying to get, all the moon, the stars, and the planets to align just right and getting that corpse over on the target and getting everything in it. That's kind of the trick. If you can get it to do that, then again, this is a very good skill to run as well. The passives, reusable parts. When your Blast Bone Skeletal Mage or Spirit Mender dies, the cost of your next Blast Bone Skeletal Mage or Spirit Mender is reduced 50%. Death Knell. Increase the critical strike chance against enemies under 25% health by 8% for each Grave Lord ability slotted. Dismember. While a Grave Lord ability is active, your spell and physical penetration are increased by 1,500. Rapid Rot. Increase the damage done and damage over time effects by 10%. Underneath the Bone Tyrant, you got Ravenous Goliath. This is kind of a neat ultimate that you can run as well if you're in a pinch and you're needing extreme survivability. You can run this. You become a horrific Ravenous Goliath, increasing your max health by 30,000 for 20 seconds. Immediately restoring 30,000 health. While transformed, your damaging light attacks restore health. Your fully charged heavy attacks restore more health. You deal magic damage to nearby enemies every second, and you heal for the amount. This ability scales off your max health. The Death Scythe is also a good skill, but it only has a 7-meter radius. I like to play ranged. That's why I run a heavy attack. So I don't run this for the most part, but in some instances, if you're up close, this is a good skill to run as well. Slice into your enemy's life force, dealing magic damage. You heal for the first enemy hit, an additional more for each additional enemy hit up to 5 times. The healing of this ability scales off your max health. I don't run bone armor because we already have the major resolve and stuff. Necrotic potency is an okay skill as well. You sap the lingering life from fresh corpse, gaining 6 ultimate and healing every 1 second for 2 seconds per additional corpse. This ability scales off your max health. While slotted, your damage taken is reduced by 3%. Death Gleaning for the passives. Whenever an enemy you are in combat with dies within 28 meters of you, you restore 666 Magicka and stamina. I feel like that was definitely deliberate. Disdain Harm. Reduce the damage you take from damage over time abilities by 15%. We have a Bone Tyrant ability active. Increase your healing received 2% for each Bone Tyrant ability slotted. That's the Health Avarice. Last Grasp. Increase your max health by 1250. Underneath Living Death. This ultimate here can come in handy if you're trying to get a hard mode clear and maybe everybody's dead but you. So you can bring your allies back from the brink of death, resurrecting up to 3 allies at the target location. You consume a corpse, up to 3 other corpses in an area, and summon a blast bone for each corpse consumed. It's got a 28 meter range, 12 meter radius, but it does cost 320 ultimate. Again, this is good if you're trying to if you're just playing with people that's allergic to living. I guess you're tired of reviving them all the time, so you can just slap this ultimate on and say, hey everybody, let's go get it done. This is your emergency heal or team heal, blood sacrifice. It's got a 28 by 12 meter area. Sacrifice your own power to repair damaged flesh, healing you or an ally in front of you, but applying minor defile to yourself for 4 seconds, reducing your healing received and health recovery by 8%. Also consumes a corpse near you when cast to heal a second target. Expunge. This is just a way that you can remove negative effects. So if you're, I don't know, maybe you got poison on you, if you need to remove it, you can always use this. While slotted, the cost of all your abilities is reduced. I don't run Life and Death. We already went over the Spirit Guardian. And I don't run a Restoring Tether either. That's more for a healer. Curative Curse, underneath these passives, when you have a negative effect on you, your healing done is increased by 8%. Near-death experiencing death ability slotted, your critical strike chance with all healing abilities is increased up to 20% in proportion to the severity of the target's wounds. Corpse consumption, when you use an ability on a corpse, you generate 10 ultimate. This effect can occur once every 16 seconds. Undead Confederate, when you have a Blast Bone Skeletal Mage or Spirit Mender active, your health, Magicka, and stamina recovery is increased by 200. Underneath the Destruction Staff skill line, this is where Crushing Shock, your ultimate, Elemental Rage, Unstable Wall, and Elemental Susceptibility can be found. So make sure that you grab your passives down through here. We are all light armor with 1 heavy, so grab your passives from the light armor. We don't have any medium on this guy, but if in case you do swap out and you run Storm Masters instead of Infoul, make sure you grab these passives. This is your heavy armor passives. Grab these. From the Fighters Guild, if you do run something like Dawnbreaker for your ultimate, make sure that you grab Slayer. This is going to increase your weapon and spell damage 3% for each Fighters Guild ability slotted. Always want to make sure that you grab the Banish the Wicked passive. This is going to generate 3 ultimate whenever you kill an enemy. The Undaunted, make sure you grab your passives in it. Undaunted Command, activating a synergy, restores 4% of your max health, stamina, and Magicka. Undaunted Metal, increase your max health, stamina, and Magicka 2% per type of armor. I am a high elf on this build, whatever race you are, make sure that you grab your passives for it. And we'll jump into the champion tree. Underneath the blue tree, we have Fighting Finesse. Increase your critical damage and critical healing done by 8%. Weapons Expert, increase the damage done with light and heavy attacks by a total of 20%. Deadly Aim, increase the damage done with single target attacks by a total of 6%. Wrathful Strikes, gives you 205 weapon and spell damage. Underneath the red tree, Strategic Reserve, gain 30 health recovery for every 10 ultimate you have. This is, in my opinion, the best slotable in any of the skill trees. This is going to help you so much with survivability. The more ultimate you have, the more health recovery you have coming back in. Slippery. This, whenever you are affected by a disabling effect, you automatically break free for no cost. After using this effect, you become winded and cannot trigger this effect or others like it for 21 seconds. I always tell people every time, if you're ever running Skullcrawler Peak, you want to make sure that you take this off and put something else on. There's mechanics in there that you have to get frozen in, and it will automatically break you free and you will be dead. Fortified. This gives 1731 armor, balanced vitality, 1400 health. Underneath the green tree, Treasure Hunter. Increase the quality of items that you find in treasure chest. This is going to guarantee you to get your set pieces from the dungeon. So if you're wondering why you're grabbing a blue rubidot maul out of the treasure chest and you didn't get your set piece, make sure you have Treasure Hunter on. Rationer. This is going to increase the duration of your drink and food bust by 30 minutes. Meticulous disassembly. Whenever you're breaking down gear, this is going to give you back more material. Steed's Blessing. Increase your movement speed 20% when you're out of combat. Take a look at the character sheet. For the attributes, I'm all 64 into Magicka. For the food, it's just blue food, max health, max Magicka. Something like baked melon parmesan is good. Apparently the values are always going to be glitched out. It says 0/0. That's not accurate. For the Munda Stone, the Thief, this is going to increase your weapon and spell critical ratings by 2,180. And we'll kind of talk about the in-game rotation. This is not skills here that you would necessarily run if you're trying to parse. This is for an in-game rotation. First thing you want to do when you come up, have your Spirit Mender up. That way it's always going to be healing you or someone else that needs it. You would just start off with your susceptibility, hit your targets, throw your wall, and then as your wall is going, just use your Crush and Shock until your wall explodes. It's that simple. It's literally 2 buttons. And then just reapply your wall when you're back at it. Keep your Spirit Mender up. Keep people healed. That's pretty much it. Anyway, if you guys find this build helpful, please like, follow, and subscribe, and I'll try to get back to y'all with another one. Later.